To address critical literacies and actions, our group chose psychosocial and environmental literacies. Specifically, we chose a chapter on health literacy, health disparities, and health equity. So overall, the information that an individual can receive, access, understand, and then apply to their daily health decisions can be beneficial to disease prevention. So that's for diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, and other comorbidities that can be avoided with healthy lifestyles. And overall, this will provide a better quality of life. When there's a lack of those health literacy, this can lead to detrimental health outcomes. So with that lessened quality of life, this actually shortens the lifespan and can lead to premature death. When we look at our societal view on health decisions, there are disparities that exist, and this would be any kind of avoidable difference in treatment. So considering health disparities and health equity, these could be avoidable. However, it requires equal access for all populations to the same information, as well as how to apply it in their health decision-making with informed decisions. And so in order for that to happen, there has to be fair access to health resource information, and then the health equity can become attainable. So looking at health literacy, disparities, and equity, overall, we're looking to prepare students to make better decisions with their daily health that will compound into their overall health. With our workshop, we're going to discuss common health topics, so mental health, food and nutrition, physical activity, which are going to impact their daily lives and give different scenarios for them to be able to understand information and then apply it into decision making. And then we'll follow it with an eval using a health literacy questionnaire at the conclusion of the workshop. So when we are increasing awareness and looking at this health literacy concept, students need to be able to make those informed decisions, and the purpose is to provide the scenarios. Again, they're going to be given specific health information and then be able to discuss with their peers and make decisions in their daily lives. And overall, the adult learner should be able to step away with provided resources, as well as an evaluation tool that's going to help them identify their strengths as well as their opportunities or challenges within their specific health literacy. Overall, the learning outcome here should be that students should be able to understand information, synthesize it, and then apply it into situations that improve their health decision making. They should be able to access the best health options available. And overall, we want them to be able to analyze how to eliminate low health literacies and disparities. So this comes from the global citizenship text that the day-to-day decision-making of an individual can impact the overall society's view and level of health literacy. We want to teach helpful tools that could be utilized during stressful episodes, the most recent example being the COVID-19 pandemic. And ultimately, we want them to step away with knowing how they can make healthy options and decisions that can increase their literacy. And then also want them to be able to think through how to discover methods for the disadvantaged populations and address the health equity concepts. So of course, we took this from the critical literacy advancement model. And so we're looking at health literacy in particular following this model. This is from a societal view. And so innovation programs and initiatives need to be developed in order to improve health literacy. Although the individual does have choice in these matters, they need to have access to beneficial information that's understandable and know how to apply it into their decision making. When we look at our workshop, our activities are going to address more common scenarios. However, this does carry into larger decision making, such as medical management, disease management, and so on. Looking at the advancement model, healthcare and community partners can help engage with their culturally competent manner, and then they can provide effective interventions. These need to be theory-based, pilot tested, and actually address the skill building aspect of health literacy and decision making. When we built our workshop, we used the learning theories of Mesro with the transformative learning format, of course, the critical theory that informed the plan model, and cognitive theory that we use feedback models. And so we allowed for reflection and discussion as the students proceed through the activities. Our target audience would be students that are enrolled in higher education courses. We specifically want to try to incorporate students that are also employed full-time. This is going to be the population that battles the work-life balance and may be making decisions just based on how quickly or convenient they can fit things in. Frequently, when you are trying to achieve that work-life balance, there may be very impactful health decisions that are getting put by the wayside. If possible, we would also like to identify populations that may be experiencing low health literacy or populations that may be prone to social injustices as well. So looking at the activities, the first we want to address is mental health. And so with this one, we were going to use a self-care bingo format. Students are going to participate in the activity and it helps them familiarize with self-care strategies. So as we said, we wanted them to have strategies they can apply into their daily lives. And so from the resource we were able to access through Salva, they will do a bingo style game. It'll be 22 self-care methods built into squares. And then with that, the students will be able to actually discuss and get feedback on their self-care methods and mark corresponding squares. Once they've done that, we'll allow them to interact, share thoughts, and actually be able to retain that information. And that will help with the understanding and application rather than just addressing what can be done, but it's how it can be done. Ultimately, it should be in a workshop that's in a campus classroom or a large format where discussion can be encouraged. Moving into activity 2, food and nutrition would be our next topic to cover. So looking at food and nutrition, we want these students to analyze dietary guidelines. So this will be provided by the USDA. And the takeaway should be that they can support their personal goals and identify what supports a balanced diet. So how it will be done is students will be given information from the USDA and they'll fill out a personal nutrition guide. And so they'll be able to cross-reference this with the USDA dietary guide. When they fill out that personal survey, this will be approximated information, so it doesn't have to be down to these specifics, but just to identify overall trends. And then as they cross-reference that, they should be able to look at the different quantities or types of food and see if they're targeting the main areas that support a healthful diet. Again, this should be in an open conference room where discussion can be permitted. They can work in teams, they can work as individuals, and they can use this tool remotely as well. Finally, that third activity is going to be based around physical activity. So the American Heart Association, as you see in this infographic here, is going to outline what physical activity is needed in order to be helpful overall. And so what we'll do is analyze the types and frequency of physical activity that will impact overall health, and then identify ways to encourage physical activity amongst adults. So first it'll be direction instructions using that infographic, and then the students will be able to participate in a buzz group discovery activity, which essentially is discussion using, we're going to use the Global Action Plan guide for physical activity. So as we look at those, first we would reference the American Heart Association's physical activity guideline. This addresses the timing, frequency, duration, and the actual types. So again, we want to make sure that the students' overall understanding is how they can apply it into their own lives, not just the information that they receive. So they'll be able to identify, what would qualify as a moderate intensity exercise, how many minutes they would actually need to participate in that weekly, and how that impacts their overall health. Then we'll move into the buzz group activity. And so we'll break out into groups of 3 to 4. The World Health Organization created a global action plan for physical activity, as currently only 1 in 4 adults worldwide are considered active and the other 75% are considered sedentary. Now, this action plan looks at different levels of organization, such as people, environment, societies, and systems. So the group will be able to pick one of those levels, and then they're going to plan for an implementation of a practice or policy in order to encourage physical activity amongst adults specifically. So the best place to have this training, again, in that large conference room or rec center, so that they can do those breakout sessions without interrupting each other. For materials, they'll just need the infographics available and the components of physical activity. They'll also have printed copies of the World Health Organization's Global Action Plan as a reference material, and that will be the bulk of this activity. Now, once we finish those activities, we want to move into evaluation so that we can assess whether the student is achieving the learning outcomes outlined at the beginning of the workshop. So the health literacy questionnaire, it is a 44-question questionnaire that is utilized worldwide. It's 9 scale, and each of those measures is multidimensional. So it's not just looking at specific questions, but it's taking an overall view. And the questionnaire is going to identify the participant's health literacy with their strengths and their disparities and where they may have issues making health decisions. So this will be very individualistic, and this will be delivered via an online questionnaire, so you can access on a mobile device or a laptop. And then they'll be provided with a report afterwards that gives them the breakdown of what they are comfortable with, what they are doing well with their health decisions, and where they may need to try to find more access for how they can access better information and application skills with their health decision making. So ultimately, we want to address the low health literacy and health disparities that can lead to disease, more comorbidities, and again, shortened life expectancies as a result. By providing this workshop, we are going to encourage adult learners to access health information, how to understand it, how to synthesize it, discuss about it, ask questions, and then apply it into their daily lives. Ultimately, their ability to make these informed decisions about their health is going to increase their health literacy. And then it can also help identify populations that may be experiencing health disparities. So as they get that takeaway with the health literacy questionnaire, this is going to evaluate the participants' understanding of health literacy practices so they can take it away into their daily lives and see how they can contribute to their own individual goals, and ultimately how we can address issues within our society to try to bring more equitable formats for health access information.